Thank you so much for tuning in to our presentation of the Rusk State Hospital in collaboration with HKS Architects. My name is Savannah Sinowitz. I am finishing my degree from Texas A&M University, and I am from Coronado, California.
Hi, my name is Arialle Dempsey. I am going to be graduating in December of 2020, and I'm from the Woodlands, Texas. So this is just a brief overview of everything we'll be talking about in our project today, starting with the introduction. So first, we want to talk about our project statement, which is the Rusk State Hospital should inspire recovery and wellness that is long-lasting and includes reintegration into society through the use of horticulture therapy. So our project objectives are remedy, recovery, and resilience. Our project is located in Rusk, Texas, and this is just a little bit of background information about Rusk.
There are three main populations in the Rusk State Hospital: the criminal forensic patients, the voluntary patients, and the civil court commitments. These patients split into four different populations, male and female, both for the non-maximum security unit and the maximum security unit. And these are some mental health statistics about the US. And here's a few different types of mental illnesses that the Rusk State Hospital will be addressing.
This is just a statistic about alcohol and drug use, and this leads into our big idea, which is horticulture therapy. And the idea behind horticulture therapy is that we think that it would be really helpful for those with addiction that are dealing with addiction recovery, as well as those who are just dealing with a mental illness. And this will help them all to reintegrate into society. Here are some of the benefits of horticulture therapy and a couple statistics about horticulture therapy and the benefits it may have on the patient. These are just the statistics continued. And one more. Okay, and then we have our case studies, and the first one is a state hospital in Denmark, which really uses the idea of courtyards, the separate courtyards, based on the different zones, which we wanted to incorporate in our design as well. Moving on to the next case study in Greensland. This one really focuses on interaction with the environment, and we wanted to incorporate that in our design with horticulture and gardening. And finally, we have the Mental Health Center in Australia, and this one also focuses on making these green spaces, these courtyards, very integrate into their design, which we also wanted to integrate.
Here is an existing structure analysis that HKS Incorporated gave us. This is the existing site on the Rusk State Hospital campus, and it shows which buildings would be appropriate to demolish for new expansion. This is where we chose to zoom in as where it would be a great fit for our building, being that the buildings were vacant or in poor condition. Here's a site analysis that explains water drainage through the site, average temperatures, and the best ways to design for the climate.
So this is our design at midpoint, and in the next slide we have our process from the midpoint to our current design. Finally, we have the programming section.
This is the space program provided to us by HKS Architects. We used these numbers here to create the relative spaces diagram. This shows how much square footage would be used for each area within the mental health facility.
This is our zoning diagram, where it shows how our zones are split up between the non-MSU male wing and female wing on the first floor, with the administration and the shared activities in the center. And then on the second floor, we have the MSU wing, which is split up between male and female, and administration in the center as well, with the courtyards in each individual area. This is a close-up of the female non-MSU zoning diagram. And then we have a close-up of the male non-MSU zone. And then we have the administration in the center, which is broken up between regular administration, visiting spaces and a central courtyard for the visitors. And then we have our shared spaces in the purple. And that's for the non-MSU zone. And then we have our MSU zone, which is on the second floor. So this is the male zone. And then we have the female zone. And then finally, we have the MSU shared spaces, which will be in between those two. And then
This
finally,
brings
we'll
us
move into our design. Sorry, go ahead.
This is our exterior rendering. It shows the approach to the entrance with covered areas. So pull-up would be covered if it was raining or a hot day. It also explains some of our sun shading devices that we used over the patient windows. This idea comes from the psychrometric chart that explained that 20% of building usage for energy would be spent on heat gain. So to best combat that, we decided to integrate a very complex system of sun shading. Here's just a sketch to explain what we were hoping early in the process. And here's a site plan that explains how to approach the building. So this area is our main entrance. It would be approached from Austin Avenue or Highway 69. And right back here is our ambulance drop-off as well as emergency entrance. And that's also explained later on in the presentation. Here's a 3/4 aerial view. And here's the main entrance diagrams.
So here's our first floor plan, and this just shows a little bit about the program that would happen in each room. It also shows the courtyards and some of the spaces that we will have in the courtyards, which will be looked at on a bigger scale a little bit later. And then we have the second floor plan. So this is a close-up of the non-MSU male wing on the first floor with its personal courtyard. You can see the nursing stations are placed about 7 or 8 rooms away. So this gives each nursing station a zone of about 7 to 8 rooms, which is ideal for making sure that they don't have too many patients to watch over, but also that all the patients have at least one nursing station that is focused on watching their room and making sure that nothing goes wrong. And then we have the non-MSU female wing, which is mirrored on the other side. And then we have our administration, and it shows just a little bit of the program of each of those spaces. We have leisure rooms, life skills rooms, and leadership rooms in the shared spaces. And then we have various administration spaces, visiting spaces, courtrooms, cafeteria, things like that. And then we have on the second level the MSU male wing close up, and then mirrored on the other side we have the female wing. And then finally the shared spaces with a little bit about their program. They also have life skills, leadership, and leisure room in the space.
This brings us to our flow chart. This explains how movement would flow throughout the building. The main point of access we want to point out is the vestibule into the lobby, past security, down the corridor, just one turn leads right to the visitor center, and the central courtyard for the visitors is right off of the visitor center. So they don't have to venture too much into the building. It's very secure. Each unit has a door so that access can be blocked off, and no one is free to just walk around the building without access. It shows the same floor chart on level 2. We want to go ahead and point out this space right here, one of the central gathering spaces for the maximum security unit, because in this next slide, you can see a visual of that space. It shows a great view right off into the courtyard on the first floor, patient courtyard, the badminton court, as well as some horticulture areas. Here is a wall section and elevation that explains a little bit about that sun shading device we talked about earlier and what that would look like in elevation view. Here is a visual of the patient rooms. Here's a patient room floor plan.
So this is a diagram showing our evidence-based design of the patient room. So some of the points that we found in our research is that we should have built-in furniture. That is important for safety and security. We should have a large windows because it's important for each patient to have the maximum amount of light, because that is just good for health for any person, but especially for mental health patients. And then we have the mural, which would showcase different spaces in Rusk, Texas, and the neighboring areas. So the idea is that within 100 miles, we wanted to incorporate as many natural spaces that could be familiar to our patients to give them a sense of place. And so this location right here, this picture takes place in Tyler, Texas. That's where this picture was taken. And then the colors from the photo would be used in the room. So you can see the blues and the greens and the purples from this photo have been taken and used as the colors for the walls to give the room a little bit of a brighter, more natural feel, and to connect them more with horticulture and with the natural environment. Then we have our evidence-based design for the courtyard. We decided to put in a badminton and a basketball court in order to encourage the patients to be physically active, because we felt that that's a lot more healthy than our patients being physically stagnant, just like any regular person. And then we have 6 different gardening plots per zone so that our patients would be able to participate in the horticulture therapy that we've talked about. Each would have their own designated space in the gardening spot. They would be able to work on different gardening projects, which would then support our cafe that would be off-site, and that would help them kind of reintegrate into society by giving them a sense of purpose and an activity to feel like they have something to do. Then we have our east elevation and our south elevations, which really just show the material use that we had. As Savannah mentioned earlier, these windows can be seen, and they are made out of wood and concrete. And then we have the different shades of green for our other walls to use these natural materials and natural colors. And then you can see a little bit of the elevation, and that can also be seen here in this section, as well as that contrast between the exterior and the interior. You can see the bright colors of the patient rooms. And then the central courtyard so this is a central visiting courtyard. So you can see here there's a lot of spaces for visitors to come and interact with their patients or their family or friends. They can bring food to have dinner with them. They can, there's a fountain and some other water features in order to bring in this natural water sense. And also we really wanted to focus on horticulture, so we tried to use a lot of greenery to keep that idea going even in the visiting courtyard.
And finally, this brings us to the construction phase. This is a quick overview of level 1 column grid. We have a few different column grids that are on different planes. So here's one section of level 1. Here's a different part of level 1. This is the patient room column grid. So working at different dimensions than the previous column grid. And finally, we have the level 2 column grid. Here's our cost estimate. Now you can see that the final cost would be $169,121,724. I'd like to say thank you to HKS, Professor George Mann, and Professor Bill Ide. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.